right. Well, we will go ahead and get started. This is the first Lunch and Learn for the Diocese of Central New York, and we'll be doing these periodically, really based on need and what people have expressed they want to learn more about, maybe some niche skills that your diocesan staff has. Sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be one of my colleagues, and we are more than open to suggestions for topics. So if there's a quick skill that you would like to learn, or you just want to have something to talk about, we can gather here for 45 minutes over our lunch break and learn a new skill, connect together in our ministry across the diocese. So just a preview of what we're going to do today, we'll start with introductions. Those won't take very long today. We'll talk about the basics of what QR codes are. I'll share with you some tools for creating QR codes in your own work. We'll talk about some use cases in parishes. Jody and I are going to, I guess I sort of introduced you now, but you'll get a chance to introduce yourself more. Okay. We'll do a little bit of a community brainstorm. And then again, a plea for topics. What do you want to know? We want to be able to meet your needs. So this is my favorite. I don't love icebreakers. One thing that people find maybe ironic is that as a communications director, actually, I'm super introverted. So when I go to workshops and they do icebreakers, my hands get clammy and I don't love them. But I think that this is a pretty benign icebreaker. And Jody, I'll have you go first and then I'll introduce myself. Okay. But if you could share your name, your parish, and your role in your parish, and then your favorite ice cream flavor.
Hi, my name is Jody McDonald. I am the parish administrator for St. Matthew's Episcopal Church in Liverpool. It's hard to pick a favorite ice cream flavor not because I have too many, but because I don't often eat it, because I have trouble digesting milk. So it's okay. No, but I do have a favorite, and that would definitely be Panda Paws.
Wait, I've never heard of this. What is Panda Paws?
It's made by Parishes, and it is a chocolate ice cream with a peanut butter swirl, and inside are these tiny little dark chocolate. They're almost like peanut butter cups, but they're shaped with Panda Paws. That's the name. It is so good.
That's so fun.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because you can no such thing as too much peanut butter.
I can agree with you on that. I am not a fan of chocolate, so that does not come into play.
Well, you might try Charlie Brown then. They by Burn Dairy's Charlie Brown. That's
I've never tried that either.
It is chocolate based, but there's peanut butter swirls. So
yes. Well, I have options. I like that.
Yes, you do.
So I'm Rachel Ravelette, or you can call me RomComm. I am the communications director here in the Diocese of Central New York. And my favorite ice cream flavor is one that, as far as I know, you can only get in one ice cream shop. So you may know or you may not know, I live in Michigan. So I live in Western Michigan near Grand Rapids, which is in the Lower Peninsula. And we always show like with our hands. So I live over here, but Michigan has two peninsulas, and in between them where Lakes Huron and Lake Michigan meet, it's called the Straits of Mackinac, and there is an island there called Mackinac Island. It's a pretty famous tourist destination. There are no cars on this island. There are people who live there year round, so bikes and horses, and then in the winter, snowmobiles are how you get around.
Wow.
So it's a really neat place. There are definitely touristy trap aspects of it, but even as a Michigan, somebody who grew up here and lives here now, I still like to go. There's still just enough, just really sweet ambiance there that even with all the things that are just clearly designed to trap tourists, it's still an enjoyable trip to go to the island. And the island is famous, among other things, for the Grand Hotel, which is just this grand hotel, very huge, kind of iconic building. If you've seen the movie Somewhere in Time with Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeves, that factors into that movie a lot. But the Grand Hotel is known for its beautiful flower gardens, especially its lilacs. And so if you go to this cute little ice cream parlor, which is really an ice cream parlor, like with the little curly Q, it looks like the tea shop in Mary Poppins where the penguins tea. But they have a lilac ice cream there. And
Really?
it is not too flowery. I know that people don't always like flowery flavors, but it is light and not too sweet. And it tastes the way lilacs smell. Nice and
Would you be able to like go on eBay and order some direct from them, or do I have to visit? Now do I have
think
to
you have to visit.
take a road trip?
I love coming to Central New York, and I love telling people when I'm there that like this feels like home. It feels very much like the Midwest of the further east. So I love coming there. So I think that you all would love to come visit me here in Michigan.
I think I need to make a road trip soon.
Well, thank you for being a good sport and talking about ice cream, even if it's not something you can have very often.
It's okay. It's an ice cream. Talk about ice cream.
Jody, I think you know everyone I'm about to introduce, and even though they're not here today, I want to make sure that you and other people who might watch this recording later are familiar with our Diocesan Dream Team. So we talk a lot about how we have a lean team. We are a small staff, but we get a lot done, and it's because of my wonderful colleagues. You know the bishop and you know Canon Megan, but I want to make sure you know some other folks. So Kathy Hobart is our controller, and Kathy is your go-to person for questions about finances, accounting, audits. She's a good person to start with if you have questions about church insurance. She's a very detail-oriented and dedicated person, and the diocese would grind to a halt without her. You probably also, I know you know Sarah.
Yes. I love Sarah.
But Sarah Alamond is the executive assistant to Bishop Dede, and she is just a treasure trove of information about how processes work. And she knows people all across the diocese. So if you have a question that we don't know the answer to, which is not uncommon, but if we don't know the answer, Sarah will know like 4 people you can ask across the diocese. So she is a great connector, and she's been a parish admin, and so she has that experience. And I know Jody, you've relied on her to some degree as you've gotten your feet wet there at St. Matt's. So she's an excellent resource. The newest member of our team is Adam Eichelberger. And Adam is amazing. He joined us in January, and he's our program coordinator and secretary of convention. But Adam gets things done. So he helps me with some communication work. He's in the throes of planning our convention for this fall. Theme, Make a Joyful Noise, or A Joyful Noise. So he's working hard on that, and he's working hard on supporting other ministries, especially right now. He's helping our Pride Committee as we prepare for Pride Month, which starts tomorrow. And with some folks across the diocese to start a Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D ministry that's more targeted towards youth.
Maybe that's how I can get my daughter to come back to church.
So look out for information about that. So Adam's awesome. And just a plug, Jody knows this, but we have an open office hour we've done now for a couple weeks, and we're going to keep that going every Thursday at 10 a.m. And look, there's a QR code. You could look to join it. What a great segue. So here we go. And Jody, I apologize. Some of this may be very basic. I don't know what your level of knowledge is. About
basic is always good with me, even if I know what I'm doing, because it helps me to draw on different things. If you started at my current level, I might forget to ask a question or a concept. So basic is perfect.
Well, we're going to start with the very basics. We're going to talk about what QR codes are, how they work, who can use them, and where and when they can be used, and why they're important.
Okay.
So to begin with, QR codes, QR stands for quick response codes. So they kind of look like barcodes, except they're usually square and they kind of have this matrix of dots. So they're a two-dimensional code, whereas a barcode is scanned one way, one direction. QR codes can be scanned from any direction, upside down. It doesn't matter. And they can be scanned by a smartphone camera. And then when you scan it, it's a link or an action. So it initiates an action. Most commonly, it opens a link, a URL in the device's browser. It can also, though, open an app. If you have your own app, I know some parishes, especially parishes that use Tidely, may have an app. It could open your app. It could open a video like in the YouTube app. It could give your Wi-Fi information, like your password, so that people can sign into your Wi-Fi network. It can be a link to a digital business card so that somebody can add your contact information easily to your phone. It can open an email. It can start a call. It can send a text. It can do whatever you need it to do. And so that is what a QR code is. And Jody, I'm going to keep going, but you can interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. In fact, I would appreciate that because I don't know what I don't know. So how do they work? They're very simple. And I've got a video here for people who maybe have never seen one in action, but basically, if you have a smartphone that was made within the last few years, you don't even have to have a special app to access a QR code. Your camera has a built-in ability to recognize QR codes. So you'll see what that looks like here in a minute with the video.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Your camera can do a lot. Like just yesterday, I was looking for, I always wear the same Nike tennis shoe, and I always forget the name of it. And so I opened the Nike app and I took a picture of my tennis shoe because they're getting to the point where I can't get them clean enough anymore. So it's time to replace them. And so in the Nike app, I could just open it and take a picture. And then through AI, it was able to say, oh, that's a tangent. So I ordered my shoes with my camera. So your camera can do a lot for you. If you're a Google user, you can search for things by taking a picture of them. But so yeah, if you have a fairly new, I would say within the last 5 years smartphone, you don't even have to have a separate app. It will automatically recognize QR codes within what it's seeing. And I'll show you what that looks like. If you do have an older smartphone and your camera doesn't recognize QR codes, there are a number of free QR scanner apps that you can use. And so you still get the functionality. So if you're not sure about your particular phone, Jody, or anyone else who's watching this, or you're not sure how to do that, that's something you could totally set up a time and we could work through that together on Zoom. And that can be really helpful for people in your parishes who maybe haven't used a QR code before. So here's a video. I just went outside. It's such a nice day. I went outside today and took a video of me scanning a QR code so you can see what it looks like, at least on an iPhone. So you can see here, I'm just opening my camera. Oh, there's my kid. She's cute. And a little yellow window comes up that says open in Chrome. And so I just directed that to a quick page that I threw up on our website. But that's how simple it is. So again, I'm an iPhone user, but my understanding is this works really similarly in really any smartphone, Android, whatever. But I don't know if you saw, let me see if I can pull this back a little bit. As I was scanning, you might be able to see here, there's yellow graphics that come up, yellow corners.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, that's a way for it to say, oh, I see something and I need to think about it. And then this little yellow box comes up and I just tap on that and it goes right to the website. So that's how you scan them. And we'll talk more about how you create them when we go over tools for using QR codes. Any questions so far?
I already learned something.
Cool. All right. So who are they for? Now they're for everyone. So QR codes, actually, they may seem relatively recent, but they have been around for 30 years. They were first invented in 1994. I think it was in Japan. And it, they say necessity is the mother of invention. At that time, barcode scanners were not as sophisticated as they are now. And so cashiers at markets were getting carpal tunnel from how they had to scan and how they had to do things. And so a programmer was like, there's got to be a better code. And so I mentioned before that that QR codes are 2D, and that means two-dimensional, but really you could think of it as they're just omnidirectional. They can be scanned in any direction. And so that helped cashiers, but they also are helpful because a UPC barcode, the lines on products that you buy, like on my peach tea, those can only contain a limited amount of information. You only get 20 alphanumeric characters when you're setting up a barcode for like an inventory control system. And they were like, what if we need more information? So that's why QR codes were invented. They were introduced to the public for use in 2010. And I was working in communication then. And I remember as they started to see them, they started to become more ubiquitous. I thought, well, this is genius because I don't have to tell people to go to a long URL. I don't even have to, at that time I was using a URL shortener, which is still something I recommend you use anytime you need to type out a link. So that I could just say, go to bit.ly/CNY lunch and learn instead of like /2 $?A capital J, like all of those things. And I'm like, well, that's good because sometimes people mistype those tiny URLs. So a QR code could help with that. And so right away I tried to start using them. But at that time, because they were new for the public, although again, at this time they were almost 20 years old, you couldn't create them for free in a way that they would still work for a long time. Like the only few free QR codes, you would generate them and it would say, this will work for up to 12 scans or 14 days. Well, that's not really useful. Like at the time I was working on a campus of 50,000 people and I had more than 12 scans. So I actually had to get a subscription to a service. And we used them all the time. And then all of a sudden around 2013, really, people just stopped using them. And I never really understood why, because they are so useful and their usefulness has won out over time. So for the last few years, they've become even more ubiquitous than ever. And people have really taken back to them. And it really feels like they're here to stay now, just because anything that helps reduce the steps someone has to take an action increases the likelihood that they'll take that action. So we talk about this in PR and marketing as a CTA, a call to action. If I want someone to sign up now to volunteer for the Pride Parade, I want to make the process of them signing up as easy as possible. So I don't want to have to say, go to our website and under outreach, you'll see Pride and then go to Pride 2024 and fill out this form. When I can just say, scan this code to fill out your volunteer form now. I've eliminated steps and increased the likelihood that they're going to take that action and follow through on it. So it really does seem like QR codes are here to stay at this point. And now they are so ubiquitous that there are free tools to create unlimited. I mean, the limits on QR codes before were arbitrary. It's not like the shine wears off the QR code after so many scans and now it's not going to work anymore. So those limits have been removed in free tools. And so anyone can create them. Anyone with access to a smartphone can scan them. Any questions at this point? All right. So where, when, and why? So you can use a QR code really anywhere. You've probably seen them on the sides of buses, or at bus stops to get like the bus schedule. They are on billboards, worship programs.
At the menu at our favorite Irish pub in Tipperary Hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
QR code, bring up the menu. Yep.
Oh, my dad hates that. He hates when we go to restaurants and he's like, may I see a menu? And she's like, yeah. And there's like a QR code on the table. And he's like, you're kidding.
Yeah. The first, I don't hate it. It's there. I just hate if you say, can I see a menu? And they say, there it is, as versus, sure, give me a moment. I'll grab you one.
Yeah.
Sometimes
and
I'm in the mood and I have the patience to do the code. And sometimes I want a menu.
That's an important thing to remember too with QR codes and everything is that, I mean, I am what's called an elder millennial, but a millennial nonetheless. And I prefer to do everything digitally. And that is not the case for everyone. And it's not just, people are quick to be kind of ageist here and say, well, older people don't want to do that. But there are younger people too who like, I prefer digital almost everything. When it comes to books, I still want to hold a book.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so if I went to a library and there were no books anywhere and I was like, where's the books? And they pointed to a QR code where I could like browse books online and then be like, only get the digital one. I'd be missing out on part of the experience. Or if I only had my small phone and I had low vision, like reading a book that way, a terrible idea. So it's important to make things accessible digitally, but to remember that accessibility means that you need to ask some critical questions about, is this something that I need to have in multiple ways?
That's why we had that discussion yesterday regarding for the announcements. Putting the QR codes in the bulletin to access announcements. It's also important to make paper copies available.
Yeah, so especially large.
Not to do that, you can go pick it up. And
so they can go anywhere, but still use critical thinking about, am I leaving anyone out by doing this?
Right.
When really, anytime you need to or want to direct someone to a digital resource or activity, and by activity, I should have said action, really, it's sign up, give now, learn more, watch this, send us an email. And why? So many reasons why this is a good idea. So there was recently, you may have seen, or you may not have, there was recently a Messenger article about how QR codes are just what we're talking about today, like how QR codes are important for ministry. And in that context, I was talking about giving. So that's a really great, I think, use case is, if somebody comes into your church, I don't carry cash. In fact, I do everything I can to never have to touch cash. My sister works for credit unions and she's like, never touch the money.
Same way. Yeah.
And we have a checkbook we have had for 15 years and we still have, I just had to get it out to write a check yesterday.
I don't even own a checkbook anymore.
But I keep it in my safe because it's rare that we have to write a check. And so if I'm new to your congregation, or if I'm visiting and I come and I find your congregation because you've got an awesome website and it's clear when your service times are and where you are. And it's clear that you're a welcoming community. So I want to go and I want to participate. I want to be included in the act of worship. Giving is an act of worship.
Mhm.
And if the plate starts to come around and I don't have cash and I don't have checks and there's data to show that those use of either of those methods of paying is just completely falling off,
Yeah.
then I'm left out of the opportunity to give. And I know that can make some people uncomfortable. Like, we don't want visitors to feel like they have to give, or like they're
Right.
only welcome if they can give. But, and I hear that, but also the flip side of that is we don't want people to feel excluded. And
Mhm.
giving to the work of ministry in an area is an act of worship. So a QR code to an online giving platform, and that's something we'll be talking about in a lunch and learn soon, is different online giving options you have as a parish. So Jody, I don't know if St. Matthew's has online giving, but I
We
know.
do. We don't have QR code, but we do. Currently what we have is it- you have to talk to your bank and give them our information, and then they set it up that way.
Okay.
So yeah, so either there's an electronic transfer it's probably a 50-50 split, where
Yeah.
some of them are electronic, it just money goes in and we never see it. It's just it shows up in our account with a number attached for our records. And then the other half are checks come in every week when I get the mail. There are checks with a parishioner's name, and it's in it right on the check. It's got their giving number that's been
Oh,
assigned.
cool.
So I
Yeah.
just take those and I put them in our locked place till the tellers come and deposit. Um, and that actually, yeah, this is the more we're talking, I'm coming up with more questions and more insights. Yeah, like one thing you said, rather than take up time now, I'm taking notes. You're saying, but yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
you can ask whatever questions you have, but
yeah,
yeah, like, so online giving is a great use case for QR codes.
yeah.
We, if you need, for people who have low vision, sometimes if they could look at a worship program on their phone, then they can zoom in and see what they need to do. And I'll do another workshop, probably longer than a lunch and learn, about how to make a digital friendly, like a phone friendly worship program. Because using your
Oh,
a PDF of
yeah,
what you print, that doesn't really work for a phone well. But
right.
if you had a digital worship program, so if you were at Celebrate Diocese Y, you could scan a QR code and see the worship
Yeah.
program. For the
And I
Pride,
know that's a thing, because yeah, I was at diocese back in December. I was
yeah,
there and I saw that, but also we use Constant Contact for our Tuesday letter and our Friday newsletter. And when it gives me the opportunity to preview before I send, there are options. It says desktop, mobile.
yeah,
So this is what you're going to see on a phone, which
yeah. And that's so important. People, if you spend much time with me at all, you'll get tired of me saying this. But first of all, it's important to understand the internet landscape. So the vast majority of internet traffic is non-human. So it's bots, it's
uh-huh.
crawling and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And the vast majority of human internet traffic is on a mobile device, not
Yep.
at a computer. People sitting down at a computer to engage with something online is really becoming an anomaly in in a lot of ways, because we have super powerful computers in our pocket. Why would we sit at a desk? I know people who
Mhm.
don't work from home, and they only have a phone. There's no need to have a personal computer for them anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, having not just a mobile friendly approach to what you're doing online, but a mobile
Mhm.
first approach is really wise. And we'll talk about that more in future workshops. So basically, invite inclusion. So QR codes are an important way to include people. if people, and it's an important way to include people who are coming to your church, whether they're members or visitors, or they're seeing you if you're out at your local pride event, or at a craft sale or something. If they're curious, they can satisfy that curiosity right then, like immediately. And if you have a call to action, like give, sign up, learn more, watch, again, you're making it easier for them to take that action. And so they are more likely to take that action. They don't have to type in a URL on their phone. They don't have to remember to look something up later. It's right there. And for better or for worse, our attention spans are just shrinking drastically. And that has a big impact on things that are saved into long-term memory. So maybe you're like me, but I'm at a point anymore because I have so much information. I'm sitting here, I've got a phone, computer with 3 monitors. I've got another phone, like, because I have so much access to information instantly, I'm less likely to remember something if I'm like, oh, I heard an announcement about needing volunteers for this. When I get home, I'll have to look that up.
I'm
gonna look that up when I get home. So QR codes. So I want to be mindful of your time. So I'm going to keep going, but interrupt me if you have any questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to highlight 2 tools for creating QR codes. And the first, I'm going to switch what screen I'm sharing here. Or can you see
this is nice
this browser window?
Yep. Church St. Matthew's has a Canva account.
Perfect.
And also I have a personal one that I got before I started working here.
Yeah. This is me. I'm signed into my personal account here because the diocese has a pro account, and I want to show.
That's St. Matthew's has a pro, and then I have.
That's great.
My personal one is just regular. Yep.
Yeah. So whether or not you have a pro account, which is a paid account,
right.
Even just with a free account in Canva, you can easily create a QR code that is very basic, but it works and it never expires or anything like that. And so I just want to walk through that process. It's very simple. So in Canva, you would create a new design. And then here on the left.
I'm not seeing what you're doing.
Oh, you're not seeing my Canva. No. Okay. I need to change my screen share then. Okay. Let me see here.
I'm just still seeing the main screen.
I think I have to do a new share. Okay. All right.
Now I see
I see my Canva window now. So creating a new design here on the left side. You can see I already have QR code there, but if you've not used it before, you won't. And it's really easy to find it and to use it.
Okay.
So if you go to apps, these are all these different apps that integrate with Canva. And so just a simple search for QR brings up several different apps.
Okay.
This one, I just want to point out, this is a Bitly app in Canva. I use this when I'm working on the diocesan side because we have a Bitly Pro account as well.
Oh, okay.
So it just integrates really easily there.
Gotcha.
But for free, this is the simplest QR code creator that I have found. And it's just right here. So I added QR code. It's as basic as it gets, right? So it's just you enter a link. And you can customize a little bit the colors, but it's really just a link, generate code, and then it's put it in my design.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm going to be working on creating some worship program templates in Canva and other templates in Canva and sharing those out with creators in the diocese who use Canva. But
that'd be me.
What's great about having it integrated into Canva here is that I don't have to, if it were a separate app, which I'm going to show you a different QR creator code creator that's a little bit more advanced, but it is a separate app. If I wanted to include,
sorry,
Yeah.
quickly, how do you add it to your left hand? I forget it. Once
over
you,
here,
yeah, how do you add it to the left pane?
so just click on it here.
And then
and
it automatically goes over there?
Yep.
Okay, and then it stays there?
Yep. And so if I were to
Perfect.
create
Okay.
a new design, you would see
It would show up as one of your choices already.
there.
Oh,
Yep.
great. Okay, thank you.
Because Canva remembers that I like it.
Okay, thank you.
So again, if you're using an outside app outside of Canva to create your QR codes, and I'm going to show you a really robust one here in a minute,
Okay.
you have to then download the QR code as an image and then come into Canva if you're working in Canva and go to your uploads and then upload a
Okay.
file
And then find
to be
it.
able to
Okay.
find it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that is one tool.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm glad to know that you're already using Canva. That's something, again, more lunch and learns will be coming about that because I think it's a really useful tool, even at the free level for churches. And a pro subscription to Canva is an affordable option as well.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Canva
go ahead.
They do What's New Wednesday every few months, and I've attended several of those, and I learned a lot for those to help, working. Like, for instance, we use Constant Contact. If I want to put a picture in, it's just one picture, and if I want to put another, I have to stack them. Well, Canva showed me how I can create a new design that puts them all together, save that, and then just import it into Constant Contact. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I love Canva.
That's another great part about Canva too, is that it has a lot of built-in tutorials.
Yes.
And if you like, even this presentation that I'm using today is in Canva.
Nice.
And I was getting really frustrated because the animations as I was working on them weren't going the way I was supposed to. So I typed my question into Google and got like 6 YouTube video answers of people who have had the same problem, and they walked me through the steps. So there's a great online community as well.
Yep, that's very good. And when I cannot find something in the internal apps help, I go to the Google, and it usually sends me a YouTube something.
Yep.
Somebody else had a problem. Boom.
This is an important thing to know, and I'll talk about this more in other lunch and learns, especially as we'll do some on social media, but we'll do one on YouTube. So YouTube is actually the most used search engine in the world. So people even aren't going just to Google anymore. They're like, I don't want to read an article about this. I don't want to read the steps of how to do this.
Yep.
Show me.
Exactly.
So that's an important thing to remember about internet environment as well. All right. The other tool I want to highlight is qrcode-monkey.com. So this is a little bit more, and I'll show you what this looks like. This looks a little bit more, or it is a bit more robust. Okay. So can you see this website?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right. So no need, you don't have to have an account. And in fact, there aren't even account option. Well, there is there?
Right.
No, there's not even a login option. So it's always going to
Facebook,
be free.
Twitter, YouTube. Wow.
Yeah. So it starts out, and I've got my basic URL here as well. And you can see that this so far is doing the same thing as QR code in Canva. I can change the colors. They don't necessarily have to be black and white. But here I can also add a logo image. So I could upload upload this.
And those that you just grabbed, are those let's see. Some of them I have on my computer because
If you
someone
need
else put them
diocesan
there, but
logos, send me
yes,
an email and I
and
will
so you
reply
get them
with
off the website, they're okay. That I know. So in Canva has a what is it, a brand kit?
Yes.
And
Yep.
I recently saw a brand kit kind of came from somewhere in the diocese, probably you, but it was listed brand kit and it showed up in the Canvas. So I downloaded it to St. Matthew's so that if I'm using something, it's got the colors right in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All
a
right.
really great way to use Canva. But you can see now,
And that's the newest one, right? Is that the new one they just did?
this is one that I've done for us.
Oh, what am I thinking of? The shield. I'm thinking
But
of
yes,
the shield
there is
that
a
they just did.
new
Okay.
Pride Shield from the Episcopal Church.
Yes.
So
Okay.
if I'm doing a YouTube link, I could even do this. And let me just grab a YouTube link.
Wow.
And here's a podcast episode on YouTube. And so I can go over here, actually, add a logo image, do my URL, and then create QR code. And there we go. I can change.
Cool. So it tells you that when you go on there, you're gonna get a oh, wow.
So you can change what it looks like. You can change the colors.
Wow.
But this V card is a way to add your information to people's contact information.
Okay.
So it's like a digital business card. You could have it. You could send a text so people could scan the code. And if your church uses texting as updates or reminders or something like that, people could scan a code.
We don't currently. We use the email. We'll do an email blast from time to time.
Yeah.
However, I've seen that come up several times in the last few weeks, is how to use they call it MRM, or texting more efficiently.
So yeah, SMS messaging.
SMS,
if your church
yeah.
if your
Okay.
church uses that, you can have a QR code that sends people a text that says, reply 1 to you've seen these
Wow.
texts maybe from other businesses, but like reply
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what that
yes
is. Okay. I
to
get them from my
sign up
pharmacy.
for
Yeah. I get them from my
text
pharmacy.
alerts.
Reply 1 to stop reminders, reply 2 to accept.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you have SMS texting, that's a good way to use that. You could have it bring up your phone number so people could give you a call.
Now here's a question.
Mhm.
So what would the number be if it's coming from the church, but what would the
So you would need to have SMS texting set up through a different service already. And that's something if you're interested in.
All right. I know that
we hold together some resources on.
Yeah. Could you do that for me? Because
absolutely.
our warden Henry, he's big on technology. Like he understands things, and if there's a problem, I'll ask him and we'll work it out together. But also it came up a lot when we did our transition committee. A lot of people, that's why I'm here right now, they said QR codes would be great. QR codes would be great.
Yeah.
So, okay. And the texting thing too.
So we have here's a little plug for you and anyone else who might watch later, but we are keeping a running list of questions people have that other people might have for Lunch and Learn topics. So I am adding SMS text alerts.
Yes. Yep.
And then just another really useful way is to use QR codes is if you wanted to link to, like, if you wanted to let people join your Wi-Fi network at your church, and you didn't want to have to like have this big long password that you have to share with people.
Yeah.
They can scan it and then join the network.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's another,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother ballgame, a whole nother story. But we have ours, when you walk in, it's one in the office, there's one in the hallway, one in the parish, one in this, that lists what our name of our Wi-Fi is and the password.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really helpful. And a great way to be welcoming to guests as well.
Right.
All right. So use cases. I don't know why this is in their own order. So you've probably already thought about some places you could use them, but like if you're printing anything, you can print a QR code on it. Worship programs, flyers, inserts, brochures, banners, stickers. I was reminded as I was working on this, I don't use my personal computer very often, but I have a QR code sticker on my computer that I try to have like affirming messages on my computer. And then when I'm at coffee shops, it sparks conversations. But if nothing else, I have this QR code. It actually goes to
that's cool.
Of one of the cold openings from Brooklyn Nine-Nine that I think is particularly funny.
I love that show.
It's pretty fun to be sitting in a coffee shop and see somebody come up and like try to be sneaky about like opening the QR code, and then they just start laughing because it's a cold open where Jake gets the people in the lineup to sing "I Want It That Way." And it makes me laugh. So there are a lot of ways you could use it. I've seen them like when people get their vehicles branded for their business or something, on their vehicles. Basically anywhere or anything you're printing that you would want people to be able to instantly take an action.
Right.
Whether that's visiting your website, sign up. I want you to do this now before you forget, before you get distracted by something else. Here's the code. Digital materials, it's a little different. For slides, like slides in a meeting like this, where I know that Jody, you're on a computer, and if anyone else were to join us, they'd likely be joining from a computer. That works, right? Because you're not on your phone. There are some phones where like if they see a QR code in an image, still it becomes a clickable link, but that doesn't always work. It's not always foolproof. So slides make sense. Zoom meetings, yes or no? The spoiler alert on that is maybe. So like an example would be at our Province 2 Synod. So the province, so you've got the Episcopal Church, and then it has provinces, and then the provinces have dioceses, and the dioceses have parishes. Okay. So we are in Province 2 of the Episcopal Church, and I don't think many people in the provincial church stuff is very niche. There aren't a ton of people who pay attention to that, but Bishop Didi is the president of Province 2, and we recently had our Province 2 Synod in anticipation of General Convention. And so we had some votes. We had some resolutions to vote on. And we did those votes digitally. And so when it was time to vote, we put up a screen that had a QR code on it. Oh, and now Zoom thinks I'm raising my hand. We put up a screen that had a QR code on it. It also had a short link, so it was like bit.ly Prov 2 Resolution 1. And we put a clickable link in the chat because in that meeting, over 100 people in the meeting, some people were joining on their phones. And so they needed that clickable link in the chat to make it simple. Some people were gathered like in a church. A deputation would be gathered all together in a church watching the Zoom meeting on a large screen. So, and we had recommended that everybody have their own device for voting, and so they could scan. And if they were on a computer, if the computer was their device for voting and they weren't like in the Zoom meeting, like if I were in a room with the Zoom meeting on a large screen and I'm voting from my computer, then I need a link I can type in. So we made sure we had 3 ways to access that. You could scan the code, you could type in the short URL, so no weird strings of letters and numbers and symbols, like easy make sense words.
Huh.
And we had the clickable link in the chat. So if you're going to do QR codes on Zoom for people to take actions, you need to have them in those 3 ways.
Wow.
So on websites, nope. No QR codes on websites, because again, most human internet traffic is on a mobile device.
Right.
So if I'm already looking at your website on my phone, then I need a clickable button or link, not a QR code.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. All right. So do you have any questions, any thoughts about how you might try to use QR codes? I know you've talked a little bit about, we talked yesterday during office hour, another plug for office hour.
Yeah.
We talked about,
Come to office hour, people.
We talked about announcements, since those are already in your e-newsletter on Friday, not printing those in your worship program, and instead having a QR code where people can see them.
Yep.
Can you think of other ways that you might use a QR code?
Yeah, actually, because the worship, the bulletins go out to the people that are here, and the online goes out to people. But once a month, we have a it's called the Open Table Community Meal, and people come in, and it's free and open to the community. So of course, church members are here as well, but then we get people from the village of Liverpool and word of mouth, and people will call in the office or they'll send an email and ask if we're having it. Would be nice to have, this would give them an opportunity. If we had say the code that we sent out, the one that we sent out that particular way, if we just had something for them
to see,
like we could put it on the table, it could just be printed and put on the table. They could scan that on each table.
Yeah.
And that would show them more about us. So they wouldn't have to ask questions. They could get our meeting times. They could get just whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah, kind of like an about. It could even go to the About Us page on your website if that's not the robust information you want.
Yep. So they just scan the code, and now they get, oh, okay, we get an address, we get a phone number, an email, we get when are the meeting times, how often, when is the next, even the new, so something like that.
In a situation like that, you could also have a separate code that you could print up and put on tables that is like, hey, how can we pray for you? And that link could go to like a Google form, and then you're collecting people's names and email addresses. And you don't have to make those required fields, but you can say, hey, if you want us to follow up with you, if you want to call, and this might be something to wait till you have a full-time rector. But
I would say yes.
Our pastoral care team to follow up with you, then include your name and email. Otherwise, we have a group of people who will pray over these anonymous requests.
Yep.
So that's a way to connect. So QR codes aren't just about getting people to do something, but they're also ways to make it easier to connect with people.
Yeah, I definitely like that one, because sometimes people don't want to talk to someone. They really would like, oh, a prayer would be awesome, but I don't know you. I'm not going to tell you my problems. But if they know that they scan a code and whatever they're saying goes to it's a fillable form, so that they can choose. So the option, the necessary is what can we pray for, but the option is your name, and the option is your contact, and then can we get back to you, yes or no? And that way they'd be more likely to do it. Because interacting with a computer screen is easier than a person sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And it makes them feel better to know that somebody somewhere is thinking of them.
Yeah. And just a caveat, I'm sure that you would not do this, but it's always important with something like that to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place beforehand. So make sure that, maybe you have a prayer group or a team that is formed specifically for praying over those requests. And so that they already know how to access the results from that form and everything like that.
Yeah.
But once you get that set up, that's a relatively simple way, and you never have to change the QR code. You don't have to print it every week. You could even like print it and put it in those like acrylic frames that stand up, and just say, oh, it's time to set up for the community meal. We have one of these little things for each table, and you never have to change it. And once it's done, and people can always access it. Let's see, I'll stop my share here. That's all I have for today. Little over our 45-minute time. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's a nice part of my job is I'm flexible.
Oh, good.
Some days I get here 10 minutes late, and some days I stay an hour over. I leave when things are done. So
Well, thank you so much, Jody, and I hope you.
Thank you.
I'll stop the recording here, but I hope you'll send me your questions and anybody else watching it. There's no statute of limitation on your questions for this.
Okay.
So if you come up with a problem with QR codes or something else that you think you'd like to know more about, like we talked about SMS text alerts for a church, reach out to me or to anyone else on the staff. Come see us in office hours on Thursdays. And so thank you so much for being with me today.